Good morning and welcome. We're welcomed into this space with beautiful music, with beautiful people, with community that warms this space and helps us find meaning, purpose, and community on a cold winter morning. And so welcome to this gathering. This is a place we all know in some ways to do many things, to wonder and to question, to express gratitude and grief, to have a place for our joy and our frustration and our peace and our hopes and everything in between. This is a place to be in community, and so we are welcome here, all of us, just as we are. And we move into our time together in this season of Advent, now on this third Sunday of Advent, moving toward Christmas. We move into it with wisdom of our experience, with all of us coming here together as one. Those of us here in the room, those of us joining us online, we all have something to add to who we are. And with the wisdom of story and experience, the wisdom we speak and sing, we simply feel deep within us a sense of knowing and a sense of belonging as people in the human race. And so we come to celebrate it together today and always. So as we do that, we come to this space with openness and find a quiet center with which to hear and listen, to be with each other, and to find wisdom for our living. As we do that, I want to invite Zoe Chaders to come and offer us a moment of experience with the land and an Emberwood nature moment. Thank you, Zoe.
Good morning, everyone. So nice to be in the room with you all, and for those online, to take a moment to orient ourselves to space and place and time together. And so as we do that, we might put our feet on the floor. And we are reminded that we are here on this land, on Treaty 6 territory. We affirm that Indigenous folks have been caring for Turtle Island from time immemorial, and that it is a gift for us to walk alongside our Indigenous siblings, to affirm their trust and their wisdom and their worldview, which sees us as all being interconnected, as being present with one another, as holding space for each other. And so this morning, as we hold that in our heart, you're invited, if it's comfortable now. You can close your eyes. You can rest for a moment here in this space with these people, with these beings. We remember always that we are nature. And we remember today that nature moves at its own deliberate pace. We imagine water slowly meandering across rocks and down streams. We think about tree trunks taking decades to make their way toward the sky. We imagine the slow shifting of sand dunes over generations. We remember that progress is not always instant, that it is slow and meandering and backwards and forwards. And so today, we imagine that we too are part of this slow progress. You might take a deep breath, place your hand over your heart, and hold these words: I trust myself in this process. I trust myself in this process. We allow ourselves to be reminded that we are moving slowly and intentionally and with great power.
Each Sunday in this season toward Christmas, we've invited a new household, a different group to come and light our candles for us. And today we welcome Serenity and her grandmother Bernie as they help us light our Advent candles today.
Okay, it's working. As we count our way through the darkness of these Advent days, we trust the return of light. Okay, let's go around. Can you hold the microphone? No, we'll just use it. Okay, hold it up so I can talk. We relight the first candle of Advent, reminding us of the hope that is born of encouragement. It worked. Let's go around this side. Can you hold it so I can talk? That's the girl. We relight the second candle, reminding us of the peace that is nurtured by listening. It worked good. I think we'll go up front. And we light a third candle, reminding us of the joy that is found in our well-placed trust. Okay, now blow it out. Thank you. May we be at ease as we trust the road we make by walking together. We come wherever we're at this day, bringing all of who we are to this moment. We come to strengthen our intentions, to live our highest humanity, to live with deep integrity and trust. And so we pray with one another. We are brave and afraid, anxious and trusting, resisting and accepting. In living these challenging days, we seek to be open to possibilities, awaken to beauty, find serenity even if only in moments. We are a community that journeys together in joy and in sorrow, in recovery and becoming, in now and not yet. May we discover within us the courage to live with full and open hearts, acting from a place of awareness, peace, and courage. We pray as those born of love and light. Amen.
Thank you for being on the ball. Welcome to our Time for All Ages. Anyone's welcome to come to the carpet or come up here for a time with each other. There's room, lots of room. Yep, especially for unicorns. I'm going to give this to you. I have something to just pass out to you here. I have some little signs. There's two sides to the signs. What do those mean? What's this one mean? Sad. And this one? Happy. Okay, good. Lesson over. No. I wondered if we could use our signs this morning as a way to show kind of how we're feeling. Show me, face toward me the way you're feeling right now. There's a lot more feelings than sad or happy, but are you feeling happy or sad right now? Feeling happy, okay. Hello, Erwin. Come in. Come sit down. Grab a happy, sad sign. What are some of the things that make you happy? Yes? Go ahead, Noah. Video games. Yeah, playing video games. Yes. Yes, you. Go, Lena.
When I sing.
When you sing makes you happy. Nice. Does anyone else have things? Elaine?
When it's Christmas.
When it's Christmas, that makes you happy? And Arwen, you were going to say something?
I am happy being with my sisters and playing Pokemon cards with Dad and Mom and playing Uno.
Oh, that's fun. Makes you happy. Serenity. Christmas makes you happy. So we're not always happy, right? Sometimes we turn our sign around. We've got a tear or a frown or a sad face. That's okay too. What are some of the things that make you sad?
Seeing people that I love go away.
Oh, seeing people you love go away. That is very sad. Elaine? When your mom and dad are sad, you're sad? Yeah. That's true too. Can you pass those back so that we all have a sign? Right. Serenity.
When my cat went away.
When your cat went away, that is very sad. Well, lots of things make us happy or sad. I think we'd rather be happy. Happy's more fun.
I know what makes me sad sometimes.
What is it?
My grandma died
Yeah.
a long time ago, but that made me sad.
Mm-hmm.
And also, what made me sad sometimes is, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, lots of things. There's a little word I want to tell you about. It's spelled J-O-Y. Who can spell here? Can you spell, Lena? Joy, you're right. Joy is a little word. It means happy. It can mean the same thing as happy. When we feel joy, we feel really happy. But I want to tell you a little something special about this word. Happy is right here on our faces. Happy's right here. But you know, I can feel sad and still do this. And you don't know if I'm sad if I'm smiling. Sometimes we just smile because, I don't know. But I want to tell you about joy. Joy is not just here. Joy is right down here. It's in our hearts and in our guts, in our whole bodies. Joy is what makes you dance. Joy is what makes you move. Joy is a feeling that's, I don't know, it's right there in your core. It doesn't matter what your face is doing. Joy is here. So sometimes joy and happiness are the same thing, but it's possible also the other way around. It's possible to have really deep joy, but also be sad. But I'll tell you what this joy does. This joy tells you, if you have joy deep down, it tells you, you know what, I feel sad, but that's okay. It's okay to feel sad because I know deep down that there's good things, that I'm good, and that goodness and good things will keep happening. I just want to tell you a little Christmas story that's not, well, it's just this little Christmas thing that I found. This is a United Church thing called Gifts with Vision, and it's a magazine, but it's also a website. And it lets people buy gifts for each other that aren't things, like they're not sweaters or chocolates or, I don't know, toys. I know, sad, right? But listen to this. Listen to this. Families in the very far north of Canada can go hungry even when there's food available because it's so expensive. Imagine getting food up to the Arctic and they have to fly it on planes and sometimes take it on snowmobiles or on sleds. Imagine. That makes the food very expensive, and sometimes it's hard for people to even have food when they live in remote places. I can give someone a gift. I can spend some money, and that will give a grocery gift card to a family in the far north of Canada. That kind of makes me happy to do that, but there's also something deeper there, right? What's that word again?
Joy.
Joy, yes. Joy, when good things happen and we know that there's goodness. Oh, what's another one? Let's see. There's Indigenous people in Canada whose language is dying. Do you know what that means? It means that like we speak English right now, we're talking English, and lots of people talk English. But some Indigenous people and their cultures speak a language that not many people speak. Just a few people. Noah, what did you want to say? Oh, that's okay. So I can give someone a gift that will give someone in a community, an Indigenous community, the mentors and the resources they need to learn their traditional language and to keep it alive. Oh my goodness, that's not just like a box of chocolates for a present, is it? That's something that will last a long time. And that's more than just happiness. What's that word?
Joy.
That's joy. Oh my goodness, it is. Okay, so we've learned that word. We've talked a little bit about it. We can always be happy or sad, but I want us always to remember that inside of us there is a deep goodness, a deep wonderful thing, a deep joy. Okay? You're going to keep talking about joy in Kids Spirit today. Daisy and Ariane are ready. If you would like to go and talk some more about joy and do some fun things, then get going. You can keep those. Or if you don't want to, you can leave them here on the carpet. Thank you, everyone.
We've heard the wisdom of our children, and now we hear wisdom from a 13th century Persian poet, Islamic scholar, Sufi mystic, whose spiritual legacy has spanned centuries and all around the world. These are the words translated from Rumi. Keep walking, though there's no place to go. Don't try to see through the distances. That's not for human beings. Move within, but don't move the way fear makes you move. Today, like every other day, we wake up empty and frightened. Don't open the door to the study and begin reading. Take down a musical instrument. Let the beauty we love be what we do. There are hundreds of ways to kneel and kiss the ground. In the words of this ancient poet, May we find wisdom for our living. This is that time when we decorate our homes with scenes of the stories that give us this season. Perhaps some of you do exactly the same thing. Think about every creche you've ever seen. We've got 2 from different regions in Mexico, and 1 from Mongolia, and several from the Middle East, and a handmade one from our own continent. And a large willow tree one. But for all the cultural variations, like here we are in Mexico with the baby in a hammock, and the farm animals being a pig and a cow, or in Mongolia, where the stable is a gur, a yurt-like structure. And yet, no matter where in the world we represent this story, some things seem consistent. You can always pick out the characters. Think about every pageant that you've seen reenacting this story. The Magi always get the fanciest, most colorful costumes. And the shepherds, well, they're in a whole different league. They get dressed up in bathrobes, and they wear tea towels on their head, and they're tied on by a necktie. And the angels get those great homemade wings, and they get the very best songs to sing. And then there's Mary, and she always looks beautiful and serene in blue. And then there's that drab old man in the back of the barn who's always dressed in brown. And Joseph, he's the only character that doesn't get a single line to say. Everyone else gets to speak. The Magi, well, they get to ask Herod for directions. The shepherds, they confer with each other about going to see this baby. Mary gets to ask the angel questions. She gets to spend 3 months talking with her cousin Elizabeth. She gets to sing the only solo in the whole saga. Herod gets lots of airtime. He's schmoozing with the foreign delegation and then consulting his advisors. But Joseph, he doesn't get to say a single word in the entire story. Not one bloody word. The way we produce the pageant, he just gets to stand at the back with a staff in his hand. But have you noticed? He's where all the action is. Joseph is the one who moves the story forward. If he wakes up from his nightmare when he's first told that Mary's expecting a child and he files for divorce, well, that's the end of the story. And if he doesn't find a safe place for this child to be born, the baby may not survive its birth, and that's the end of the story. And if he doesn't stay attuned to the political realities and get out of Dodge before it's too late, Herod's paranoia may end the child's young life, and that's the end of the story. And if he doesn't come back home when he can, The context will create a different life for this child and an entirely different script for this story. But despite the differences in these characters and the differences in their respective roles in the story, they have one thing in common. In the world of the story, they're all afraid. Each of them is challenged by fear. The messenger who comes to them begins to sound like a broken record. Whether it's to an old skeptical priest like Zachariah, or a reflective young woman like Mary, or shivering shepherds on the hillside, or Joseph tossing and turning in his dreams, the message to each of them is exactly the same. Do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. But there was every reason to be afraid. The economy was in the tank. More and more of them were losing their lands and their livelihood. Their ability to feed their families was at the mercy of the absentee elite, who may not even hire them as day workers to work their own land, the land they used to own. And politically, they lived in an occupied territory under foreign rule. And religion offered no refuge. The temple practices had become corrupt. And many of their teachers and priests were colluding with the empire to increase the burden of tax and debt, and failing to defend the practices that had protected the most vulnerable among them. So who in their right mind wouldn't be afraid to bring a child into such a world? Who in their right mind wouldn't fear for the future? Our carols have celebrated these characters as faithful. Oh, come, all ye faithful. But the Christmas carol world is addressed to those who were fearful long before they were faithful. At the center of this fear-filled story is a strong, silent, supporting actor who listens to the counsels that come to him from below his consciousness, in the world of his dreams. A character with integrity who will listen to the deep inner wisdom that says to him in the story, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to marry this woman you love. Don't be afraid to give this child your name and your love. Don't be afraid of your confusion. Don't be afraid to trust your heart. Don't be afraid to set aside your privilege and your power. Don't be afraid to do the right thing instead of the prescribed thing. Don't be afraid of what people will say. Don't be afraid to live your love. Don't be paralyzed by your fear. Feel your fear and let your trust be bigger than your fear. Don't be afraid of what you don't yet know, of what you don't understand. Just let the beauty you love be what you do. Just follow the best your heart can think to do. Many years ago, my friend Gwen died. She was a young mother with a husband and two very young children. And shortly before her death, she said to her husband, Jan, don't be afraid to make decisions. Don't be afraid to go on. And Jan listened, as Joseph in the world of the story. And in time, he left a job that he had been stuck in for many years. A job that didn't really utilize his skills or value his gifts. And he sold his little home here in Ritchie, and he moved his children to Victoria to be closer to his sisters and to have the support of his extended family. There were many good things that came of those decisions. Several years later, he had to grieve the death of his eldest daughter, who died shortly after she graduated from high school in a tragic car accident. And I can't help but believe that those words Gwen spoke years earlier would have given him the courage to rebuild his life yet again. Don't be afraid to make decisions. Don't be afraid to go on. Those words that invited him to expand his heart beyond his fears and to trust life, even in the pain of loss. Our fear-banishing wisdom comes to us in so many forms. Joseph's angel and Jan's angel come to us too with their wise counsel to not be afraid. It might not be the life we had planned or the world we had dreamed of, but don't be afraid to make decisions, and don't be afraid to go on. Don't be afraid to keep walking though there's no place to get to. Don't try to see through the distances. That's not for human beings. Move within, and don't move the way fear makes you move. Because fear incites us to react rather than to act, to withdraw rather than persist, to despair rather than hope, to turtle into ourselves rather than to step into the unknown with trust. Joseph steps through the world of the story to be our mentor in a time to simply trust that if we will do the next good thing that can be done, we'll safely find the path under our feet. And that courage is only found in the midst of our fears. And direction will only come one step at a time with a heart that's unshielded. So maybe this Christmas, we ought to dress Joseph up in a bright color. And then maybe take him out of the backup band and recast him as the lead singer. As he's the character with the capacity to inspire us, to expand our hearts beyond our deepest fears, freeing us to trust, even when we know not the way.
We have a time to share some invitations of things coming up in the life of the community, and want to start with this afternoon. We have the honor and privilege to celebrate the life of Charles Bidwell this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and we'll do that here. We can join, of course, in person. You're also welcome to join online if you can't or choose not to be here in the room. That'll happen at 2 o'clock, and that'll be followed by a favorite of Charles, a pie social. Many of you took your volunteer and financial support letter and forms home a couple of weeks ago. If not, you might find it in your church mailbox here, or you might find it when you open your mailbox at home one of these days, or you've already received it. If none of those are true, you can always go to the website you see on the screen right now, and you can find a digital version. You can read the letter, you can respond in that way. So lots of options for you, and we're looking to have those back in the next week or two. The Christmas season obviously is fast approaching, and there's many opportunities for us to gather as community in this season. The first of which is Blue Christmas this coming Wednesday at 7 o'clock. The Blue Christmas gathering is a quiet and beautiful gathering where we acknowledge that Christmas is not all joy and fa-la-las. For most of us. There are a whole myriad of emotions that go into this season, and we can acknowledge our grief, our sadness, and do so in a supportive community. So you're all welcome to that Blue Christmas gathering here in person or online on Wednesday evening. Then the following Wednesday, the 21st, a favorite for solstice. We get to come together, have a very brief gathering with a few readings and honoring the darkness of the season, and then for the rest of the evening, walk the labyrinth indoors. And this year, a new labyrinth for us. We've just been able, thanks to the memorial gifts of a member of the congregation, we have purchased a new indoor labyrinth. And so come that evening and walk the labyrinth and have a nice, quiet, meditative experience on the darkest night of the year. 3 Christmas Eve gatherings, 4 o'clock for families and children, of course for everyone, but that's the focus. 7 o'clock, a gathering for all ages, including a time for children, and 9 o'clock, a more reflective gathering. And so we invite you to any or indeed all of those. While we're talking about that, I'll talk about how we can best make our Christmas Eve successful as a congregation. We need a little bit of help. Every year there's some tasks that need doing, and this year's no different. Help with our outdoor luminaria bags, help with speaking of Joseph, I have just the costume in mind for Joseph this year for 4 o'clock. And so we need some volunteers that would help kids with that costuming. 4 o'clock is so fun. It's a bit of managed chaos while we put on a spontaneous pageant. And we need some help, too, with people that don't mind greeting folks at the door as they come in and creating a welcoming atmosphere through our for one of the 3 gatherings. So there is a sign-up sheet in the foyer on a piece of paper on the table, but there is also a way to indicate your interest online. So please visit that website to indicate your interest and help us make Christmas Eve a great evening. there's another fantastic opportunity that is back here in this space this year after a number of years of either meeting online or in some years being in different locations. This year, Deep Winter Song is the 16th year of this gathering happening here in this space on the 18th at 7 p.m. Stories, music, an atmosphere of winter and peace that is really unforgettable. You can visit Eventbrite online to get tickets for that event, and you can find it there by Googling Deep Winter Song. I'll just say a thank you to those of you who continue faithfully supporting the work of this community. We do so by our automated withdrawals. We do so with a check or cash in the box at the back. So many of you are donating online with e-transfers or via our donation page on the website. Thank you to each of you. None of what we do can happen without you. And that's not even taking into account all the time and energy and spirit that you put into all the things that you're doing. So thank you for that, and we do appreciate each and every gift and donation that you offer. Are there other speakers, other announcements, other invitations that can be offered? Lyle.
Hi. I'm Lyle McGonigal. I'm also Dr. McGonigal. And I'm here to make a public health announcement. I feel compelled to do so because our leaders have failed to do so. So our Premier and our Health Minister and our public health people have said nothing about the crisis that's going on in pediatrics today. I think most of you know our healthcare system is in crisis, but today our pediatric healthcare system is in big crisis. And most of you will know it's because of respiratory viral illness that has swept the country, swept the city, and swept the province. We have an ICU that's full of kids that are sick with, and very sick with respiratory viral illness. Our beds are full. Our emergency department is stacked to the wall and down the hallways. In fact, I go down there and it's very much like third world medicine down there today. I think that people need to know the crisis that's going on and that you can do something about it. So we can do something about it by getting ourselves immunized for COVID and influenza, getting our families immunized, getting our grandchildren immunized, and spreading the word that is really important. There's also a second problem that's cropping up, and that's an illness with a bacterial infection called Group A strep, which is across Canada now killing children in high numbers. So there's 9 or 10 kids in Ontario and 3 or 4 in Alberta, and half a dozen in BC who have died of this, probably because emergency rooms are full, it's tough to get in, it's tough to see a doctor, and it presents with fever and sore throat, but then goes on to sepsis or meningitis or both. So be aware of that too. We can help prevent that by cutting down the respiratory viral infections that are present, so get immunized. Wear a mask in public places when you can. We can all do something about this. We can all help. Please do.
We go with each other and the light of our courage, facing our fears, listening to our inner wisdom, taking the next right step as the path appears before us. We go in encouragement to listen and to trust. We go to create light, more light with one another.